Okay, looks like we're on mission number 8. So I'm going to go ahead and get through my startup, and you can hear the mission's going to be about, and we'll get going.
Naval on air.
Naval, 233 here. Running start checkup.
Good. Now listen carefully. Purpose on this flight plan is not only to find dry cargo ship Khrushchev, but also to learn tactical situation in the area. Search zone was changed. Group HQ suspects that we are duplicating the search routes with naval forces, wasting resources and time while making no headway. That's why the results are null. Try to keep airspeed below 180 and flight level 150. The mist lifted a bit, but the wind came stronger. If you do everything like last time, your aircraft remains intact and yourself dry and warm. Examine all vessels on the way. This is important. The route is open.
Naval, 233, copy that. Airspeed 180, flight level 150. Autopilot channel in use. Inspecting all vessels.
233, Naval, correct. I'm told on numerous radar flares. These are Georgian helicopters. Be careful, they don't establish liaison. Therefore, top visual control of airspace.
Confirming eyes wide open.
Affirmative, 233. Be on your guard. Wishing you success with the search. Ask FD for takeoff. Over.
Thanks. Addressing Ka-50 now. Over.
Oh, I forgot. We're supposed to check in with ATC. Let's see.
Сочи, 233. Руление. Сочи. Разрешаю руление на полосу 2-4.
Watch экран. Watch экран.
Yeah, it's important to do that when you're asked because the timing of the missions, of the actual, how they set it up, you know, it can be affected if you show up too early. So, wow, it's been a while since I've taxied. And it looks like we're searching again for the vessel, the naval vessel, but we also have to check the area of operations, I guess. Let's see. Okay. Well, I didn't hear which runway I'm supposed to go to, but it's usually always the same. For taxiing, kind of all over the place here, I like to just push the collective up a few inches and then push the stick forward and go ahead and trim that. And then, of course, make sure your brake's off. Like that's brake on, brake off. And then you can just use the rudder and stick. It's really windy, so you can hear I'm screeching the tires. It sounds like the brake's on, but just check this out. Okay, see how we're kind of jostling back and forth because the brake's on? And if we release it, that front wheel is probably spinned around. So until we get going, it should smooth out. There we go. So more bad weather, more autopilot training, and yeah, so things get progressively worse in terms of conditions for flight, but it's all good, especially if it makes you a better pilot. Gotta watch for traffic. Somebody's got a big light. I don't have my light on. Maybe I ought to put it on. There it goes. Okay, so that's clear. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the next runway. And we'll come up here and hold short and contact the tower and request permission to take the runway.
Сочи, 233, взлет. 233, взлет запрещаю.
Of course.
233, Сочи, взлет по готовности.
There we go.
Отход по схеме на 300. По давлению 727,53.
All right, well, let's try to do a running takeoff here. It's been a while since I've done this, so hopefully I won't have to re-record this. Not very smooth, but it'll have to work. So let's do this one. We're supposed to stay under 180 knots. Let's go ahead and bump it up to 200. And we should stay at around 150 meters, but we're gonna settle off at around 100. So I've got my speed where it needs to be, and let's go ahead and turn on the altimeter autopilot. Come off the speed a bit. You see the wind's pushing us all over the place. Now I'll engage. Let's put it in track mode. And now we're in route mode. And when we get feet wet, for some reason, the barometric altitude, it looks like we're way too high. So actually it's just because the land raises a bit once you go feet dry going the other way. So I'll set this, boom, with my button on my collective. I think it's the F key. And it should go back up to 100 and settle around there. Yep. And I'm going to slow down a bit. So while you're in the route mode, you know, you can just pull back. You can, like I said, you still got control of the aircraft. You just pull back and kind of put it at the speed that you want to be going, let it settle in. Also, if you're, you know, if it's trying to maintain the altitude and we were at 50, say, and it's going to try to go to 100, there's some traffic, and you set the speed and trim it for the speed, but it's still, you know, trying to get to 100, that's going to change. You know, when you finally settle in at 100, you're going to be going faster than what you set the speed at because it comes off the collective. So just let everything settle in where you want it to be, like right now, and then hit the trim button. And I kind of goofed that because I moved the stick. So let's see if we can fix that. All right, that'll work. So it looks like we're off course. That's because I was holding the trim button for too long. So when you hold that trim button and it disengages the route mode temporarily. So we should be turning a bit more to the right. Let's see what happens when we put it in direct heading mode. No real change there. Back to direct track. Okay, it's probably so windy that this is the best it can do. But let's go ahead and I'm going to turn to the right with the stick, keeping everything else the same. You know, this is handy for formation as well. Even when in route mode's not on, but you've set a heading with the trim button. Let's say you're kind of drifting away from your leader, maybe, who's over to the right. Well, you can just use the stick without trimming. Use the stick, get closer to him, and then let go. And the autopilot system is going to go back to that heading that you had set when you trimmed it. And you'll be closer to the leader and still be on the right course. All right, I better start looking out for stuff. All right, I'm going to bump up the speed yet again. See where that puts us. All right. That buzz is our warning on our altitude. So I'm going to go ahead and actually, we'll go ahead and put it down towards about 10. Well, 15, let's call it 15. So I'm pretty comfortable down low, but if you're just beginning, you probably want to set that around 50. I've got this zoom view mapped to my, I've got a Cougar, a HOTAS, and I've got it to the antenna elevation axes on the throttle, so it's easy for me to zoom in and zoom out looking for things. So we've still got 26 kilometers to go. You can see our complete flight plan if I zoom out here. Typical search pattern. So we're not headed for this one, we're headed for this one. Yeah, if you think this one's hard to fly, wait until you try the Huey or the Mi-8. The dampening on these channels really makes it a lot easier to fly a helicopter. In those other aircraft, you have to sort of know ahead of time. You have to anticipate stopping, like in a turn. If you're turning to the left and you want to be done with your turn, you kind of have to anticipate the end and pull back the other way to end up where you want to be, and that kind of is true on in every direction of travel. So I imagine that if you spend enough time with it, it becomes second nature. But when you're first starting out, and especially if you've been spoiled by Chemov's Ka-50, it's going to give you a hard time for a while. I still am not really super comfortable with it, but I hope to be, when I get done with these tutorials, to get back to that. Also, there's a couple new titles coming out on the World War II front, to additions to the P-51. There's a 109 Messerschmitt, and the whole World War II Europe product that I think it's RPG Studios is putting out, that had the Kickstarter project that was successful.
233, Georgian helicopters in sight.
233, Naval reads you. Behave yourself properly. They are doing their job as well.
Naval, 233, Georgian helicopters in sight.
233, Naval
Yeah, I just said that.
Behave yourself properly. They are doing their job as well.
There's a bug I missed when I was testing that probably should have only been said once. So yeah, there's Georgian helicopters out here. It's like a dual search. So I have to keep an eye on those guys to make sure they don't start to want to play around. As I was saying about the Kickstarter project, that should be pretty cool, especially if they come out with a B-17. But I've started to learn the P-51, and man, is it different. Being used to the F-16 and the Frogfoot, the Su-25, and this sort of modern day, late 20th century jet aircraft are just so easy compared to those other classic fighters. You really have, there's just something I need to check out. Let's go look at that ship. The engine management is what I'm struggling with. I think I've been able to understand it, but I can't imagine being in a dogfight and having to manage the engines. I guess it's like anything else, though. It's just the more time you spend with it, the more it becomes second nature. The flight model is just fantastic on that P-51. There's a video on the Kickstarter project about the guy who designed it. Yo-Yo is his screen name, and it's really something else.
233, observing another warship. Gonna approach and examine. Over.
And he's currently working on the Spitfire, which is his favorite aircraft of all time. So if he did so well on the P-51, imagine how well done the Spitfire is going to be. Really looking forward to that. So you've got to be careful in this weather because you have to get down close to these ships to identify them. That's the challenge of this mission.
233. That's patrol ship Герой Балтики.
Naval copied that 233. Patrol vessel Герой Балтики. Over.
Okay, so we ID'd that one, and I had canceled route mode, so I'm going to get back up to speed and altitude and trim, and then re-engage route mode. That should be about right. And engaging route mode. Let's see, are we still in? Yeah, let's go back to direct heading mode so that we definitely hit the steer point. Okay, so I've had to re-record parts of this, and if I repeat something that I've said already, I apologize in advance. You know, sometimes these longer missions can, well, they have to be split up basically, and when I re-enter and start recording, it's hard to remember maybe what I had said up to this point. So anyway, I think we were talking about the route mode, and that we had just re-engaged that for direct heading, so that we can definitely hit our steer point. So we'll hit that and make a turn for the next waypoint. Switching back to direct heading mode so we can ensure to hit the waypoint. And it's pretty freaking boring out here. So what's that? There's something. Finally. Okay, so I'm gonna disengage route mode and get down pretty low. Check this guy out. And
Naval 233, observing warship.
Naval copy that 233. Get closer and identify.
Yes, sir. Confirming. Naval 233, the ship identified. That's patrol boat Rescue. Did you read that, Naval?
Naval got your right, 233. Patrol boat Rescue. Good job, 233.
okay, we still have to hit our steer point. There we go. Got it. And there's a long stretch coming up before anything new happens, so you'll probably see a skip here in the video. Okay, here we are coming up on the 6th waypoint, and as we said earlier, we know that it can only do 6, so what's going to happen? We're just going to maintain our heading, and the route end button light came on.
233, number 7 left behind. Nothing.
So we're going to disengage that, and we'll have to manually fly the rest of the flight plan in this atrocious weather. So I just skipped a couple non-eventful waypoints, and after this short leg here and our turn back to the north, I think it's back to the north, that'll be our last long leg. So the autopilot route mode is only, so good as six waypoints, and you're pretty much stuck with doing it yourself after that. Although you can kind of trick this system by, if you took the time to do it, to set up target points, because you can use 10 target points, and you could set up the rest of the waypoints as target points. Now, it's not going to automatically, I don't think it would automatically go from one, no it won't, to the next, but at least, you can select your steer point and then engage route mode, and it will, go to that point. It's a bit too much. You need to be able to fly without the autopilot anyway, so it's like we're running into somebody else up here. I think we've already seen this guy, but let's see. Let me pop him a flare.
What's his presence? Isn't it Vergeev's 233? It's so crowded here today, like in weekend circus. This is Albatross. Glad to see you.
Yes, Box. That's Vergeev's 233. Wishing you successful search. Naval 233. You can mark Albatross ship. He is in our channel.
Naval 233, excellent job. Keep on sweeping. Albatross, switch to your channel. Repeating, change to your channel. How do you read this at the Naval?
Oh, this wind is really picking me up. Okay, so we got that waypoint. And, oh, that radio chatter. Apparently our character, our pilot guy, was sick of hearing that smartass on that destroyer or whatever it was. So asked for him to get thrown off the channel, which the commander guy did. So we don't have to listen to his commentary, whereas you guys have to listen to my commentary. Okay, so this is the last leg, and I'm gonna get going fast here. Try to stay on our planned flight route. And I'm gonna stay around 50 meters, because I know there's some more ships coming up here. Now let's see, so that would be... Right. Might as well just turn that off. Well, actually we can set it up to get ready to go RTB. But we won't select it yet. So yeah, these feet wet missions are a little bit on the bland side, but you do learn some really good fundamental things about flying the Ka-50. You really get to know the autopilot. You learn to fly in horrible conditions. You get to be able to feel what it's like to get these gusts of wind or just sustained winds that are pointing your nose in one direction, and you're heading and traveling in a different direction altogether. It sort of gets you used to the idea of that. And as we'll see, and I think there's one or two other ones, but there's some extra sort of demands that you have to meet in order to get through those, and we'll talk about those when we get to them, but they're a little more interesting, I think. However, I think that after this one, we've got there's something up there. We've got an emergency situation to take care of, I'm pretty sure, that involves, well, it doesn't involve flying over the ocean, so we'll see that next time. Speed up again here.
Naval 223 here. Group of warboats in front of me. Moving in column. Heading 305. Naval?
233. Naval reading that. Warboats. Conduct inspection. Don't accept the battle. Withdraw from action if under fire.
Proceeding, Naval. Confirming not to engage into action. Approaching the last boat in the column. Lem told me, study languages, son. If I got it right, Naval, the last ship in column is Rotava.
Rotava.
Repeating, warboat Rotava, under Georgian flag.
Naval copied that, 233. Georgian warboat Rotava.
Naval, 233 here again. Next vessel is Gatsiri or Gatsuri. Naval, Tamara warboat is in front of the column. How do you roger, Naval? This is 233.
233. Naval roger that. Group of warboats under Georgian flag. Rotava, Gatsiri and Tamara.
Naval 233. Naval got it right. Rotava, Gatsuri, Tamara. Resuming the search. Over.
Oh, I thought I'd be able to fly back and check out the flare, those colorful flares that signal flares that I launched. But the wind was so bad, you know, you can't really whip around against the wind. So we checked out those last 3 vessels. Unfortunately, not the one we're looking for. But I guess our secondary goal was to kind of get situational awareness of the area with the different Georgian vessels that are also searching. So at least we did that. And at this point, we just RTB, but be sure to hit the next waypoint before you don't just make a beeline for home. You've got to hit the next, you've got to hit all the waypoints in every mission. So we will see you next time over land.